Okay, the next topic today is Wheat Belly. It was a book that came out a few years ago, and certain commentators, including David Wilcock, who I sometimes listen to because he's very interesting, have gone on about how wheat, GMO wheat primarily, but GMO wheat is what we think is pretty recent. But David Wilcock says that the wheat that we've been eating was really engineered back in the 1960s. That's news to me. And he said that it was engineered to screw up your thyroid gland. And he said if you're overweight, stop eating anything to do with wheat and refined sugar. Is it going to help you? Well, he says eat clean food. So what is clean food? Well, if they engineered the wheat back in the 1960s, what makes you think they didn't engineer the apples and the celery and the yogurt, um, everything else that you have to buy to eat? I'm going to assume they engineered everything in the 1960s. In the 1960s, it was called the Green Revolution. It was high yield food products, and it was the great miracle of India. It allowed India to feed her people. Before that, there were famines, but this new wheat, let's say, had very high yields. It produced great bumper crops, and people didn't starve anymore. So, what's worse? Starving to death because there's nothing to eat, or eating what David Wilcock calls this thyroid wheat, let's call it. Personally, I would rather be fat and alive than starving to death. Wouldn't you? So, we're going to have to keep eating what's available. David Wilcock might have a large salary from all of his different gigs that he does in his books. He's got all these hardcover books. This one came from the library. So if every library in the world has got a copy of David Wilcock books, he's pretty well off, and he can afford to, I don't know, maybe have a greenhouse where he grows his own food. Me, no, I don't have that option. So I'm going to eat the wheat and the bread that it's made from that I buy at Walmart. And am I too fat? I may be carrying a few extra pounds, but you got to remember I'm well into middle age, and I'm not terribly worried about my weight. But there are some people I know that have big weight problems, and when I look at them, it's not the food they're eating, it's the amount of food. My cousin says they have issues with portion control. And, this is a big problem in America because the servings that you get in restaurants in America are way too big for humans. Way too big. They serve you an enormous plate of food, and it's relatively cheap. And this is what you think is what you should eat. And that's why there's so many big, fat Americans. Obesity is the number one problem in America. And it's because the food portions are way too big. So I would say discount everything David Wilcock's telling you about Wheat Belly. Don't buy the Wheat Belly book. Buy your food at Walmart. Try and eat according to your budget. And stop worrying. David Wilcock, he talks about the cabal, the nasty cabal. That's basically, the billionaire class that own everything. But his book is published by the cabal publishers. So who's he really in bed with? The cabal. The cabal is David Wilcock, just like David Icke is the cabal. David Icke talks about how the Queen is a reptilian, but when I watch David Icke, he's got a huge wheat belly. He walks around like he's a dinosaur. You just look at the way he walks. If anyone is a reptilian in Great Britain, it is David Icke. The whole point about David Icke and David Wilcock is that they are selling you the exact thing that they are complaining about when it comes to the cabal, and that is fear. That's what he's selling you when he talks about wheat belly and, but the poisoned wheat that's screwing up your thyroid. Everything he talks about is designed to make him look like a good guy, but while he's playing the good guy, he is feeding you fear. Fear of the cabal, fear of the food, fear of the air, fear of FEMA camps, fear, 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 fear. Why? Because that's what he's paid to do by the cabal. Don't worry is one of the 5 precepts of Reiki. Many years ago, I was introduced to Reiki. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. You have to tattoo it into your forehead backwards so that when you look in the mirror, it says, don't worry. Because worry is all about fear, and it lowers your vibration. Don't worry. So when you get worry when you turn on the television, because the news is all about horrible, horrible mass shootings and wars and things you can't control and out-of-control governments and Donald Trump's weird hair, don't bother with it. If you walk by and it's on, don't worry about it. Please don't go and actively turn to NBC News at 6 o'clock to get your daily dose of worry and fear. It's not going to help you. Go out in your backyard and get some sunshine. That is the best way to raise your vibration. Disconnect from the fear factor of people like David Icke and David Wilcock and the cabal and NBC News. I'm Harry Weaver. That's your daily update.